from your perspective, is every NFL team trying to win a Super Bowl?
No, no. I think that's clear when you see how some teams do this. Players walk with less than half their money. And I remember calling my financial advisor when the money actually hit my account saying, I think I just got robbed. When you tell me every team's committed to winning, then why doesn't every team spend like the Philadelphia Eagles? I don't buy into this scenario, these quarterbacks are these altruistic people. When Jalen Hurts signed his contract and says, just make sure all my other teammates get paid, that is horseshit. We trade our body, our health, for money. That's what the NFL is.
As a player, do you feel betrayed by that? The recent Pablo Torre investigation, along with Mike Florio, has kind of unearthed and reignited this discussion about guaranteed money in the NFL. Guaranteed contracts are very rare, typically reserved for the absolute best players. So talk to me about the biggest misconception about when you get to the NFL in terms of money.
I think taxes are probably the biggest misconception. Everyone sees that number and they think Patrick Mahomes got whatever he signed for, $400 million or whatever his contract was, not realizing the taxes that come out. So like just to go over like how athletes end up making their money, just know you're paying your state and federal. So in New Jersey, you're paying, I don't know what it is right now. I think California is 13% for the state income tax. Your federal is going to be 30 something percent, 30. I don't know what it is at this point in time. You're paying your agent 3%. You're paying your money manager 1%. Players walk with less than half their money. And I've talked to a lot of money managers out there. Some of the best players leave the game. And if they did really, really well, they have about 25% of what they made when you look on what it Spot Track is where a lot of people go to get the contract information. So I think first just realizing what actually goes into the pockets of the players. And then you think about, all right, players are spending 25% of their dollars to live, to improve the lives of their family, to pay for mom to get a new house, to pay for their kids. I don't want you to feel bad for NFL players. I just want you to realize, like, when you look at Spot Track and what's actually in the bank account, it is a drastically different number. So let's tick that box first and foremost. That players don't even see half the money that they earn. And then it goes back to the devil's in the details, and that's life in general. When you really dive into these contracts, whatever you see ticking on the bottom line, that's why you'll sometimes see me checking Adam Schefter. It's like, hey, so and so signed this contract, and he's a practice squad player or undrafted free agent, signed a 4-year deal for $400 million. Well, no, that's not the case. It looks good in the headline, but the guarantees are he's not guaranteed to make a dollar unless he's on the active 53. And then when you're on the active 53, there's all sorts of playtime incentives, and if you're on the active roster or you're not. So the devil is in the details. The headline is never accurate. I wish they would back out like how much you actually take home, because there's almost this duty to present the right information to the public, because part of what gets clicks is how much the overall dollars are, but no one else has their overall dollars put out there for the world to see. So I wish there was a certain standard on that. If you're going to report how much we have or how much we're making, that you're actually as accurate as possible. And that's the one area where I feel like the media does not do a good job of portraying it. And it sets athletes up for failure, because then the athlete also internalizes like they just signed this massive contract and they're not going to get hit over the head with taxes and fees.
So when you get that contract, in your case, it's a rookie deal. There was no negotiation, right? It's all
there was a little bit of a negotiation in my rookie contract.
But,
and Shamar Stewart's dealing with the same thing right now. It's offset language and guarantees within that.
Yeah, we'll get to him because I think he is kind of the case study for it right now. But when you get that contract, are you considering the doomsday scenario of I get there in rookie minicamp and I tear my ACL, how much am I walking away with?
So for me, as a first-round draft pick, I was 19th overall to the New York Giants. I had a fully guaranteed contract, even for injury. So you can look at injury or guarantees, and really the full guarantee is if you're protected through injury as well. So my contract was 100% guaranteed regardless if I had injured, and I never played it down for the New York Giants. And that is something that people also miss, because there's levels of guarantees. There's guarantee for injury, and then there's guarantees for skill and cap. And those are two big distinctions that you have to realize as a player. Skill and cap, they can cut you for whatever reason, and that money is not guaranteed. If you're on the roster by the first day of the league year, March, whatever, then yes, it's guaranteed. The only money that's actually 100% guaranteed is the money that you sign in And this point, if you retire early and you tried to walk away, the team could actually, Calvin Johnson could come after signing bonus. But signing bonus typically is 100% guaranteed, even for injury. And that's the only money the player can count on receiving throughout the course of that, contract term.
So it's three tiered in that, different types of guaranteed contract. So, for example, if you had an injury guaranteed contract, that's like the best you could get.
Yes. So I went out there and
Interesting.
tore my ACL in that first game after signing my contract. I think Ronnie Stanley would be a good example of this. Ronnie signed a massive contract and then tore his ACL, I think, the next game or maybe a week or two after he had that injury. And that money that he signed for injury, he was guaranteed for that. So I don't know if it was 3 years of guarantees or how long that was, but Ronnie Stanley had the best possible worst case scenario happening, tearing his knee, but best case scenario from terms of I just signed this massive extension. So at least I'll be able to get healthy, get back on the field and show that I'm healthy while I still have guarantees and the team is invested in me being on the team.
I'm wondering what kind of resources are offered to these players. Is there a required meeting with a fiduciary? Is that all on you guys? I mean, to an extent, you don't want it to be this paternalistic program, but it's like these guys might not recognize just how much is actually going to hit their account.
Yeah, I don't think the players know really at all. I didn't know. I'll raise my hand and be the first one as a 22-year-old and you're signing that contract for the first time. I didn't realize it. And I remember calling my financial advisor when the money actually hit my account saying, I think I just got robbed. And that's when he introduced me to taxes for the first time because I got less than half of what my signing bonus was. So that's something that I think players need to do a better job putting the onus on us. And then I'll tell you this, not every agent out there is equal. Not every advisor out there is equal. And I'm not saying that I'm looking at you, Mr. Advisor, right now saying you're not good enough, but everyone knows who they are. And there's horror stories that are out there of guys getting in trouble. Not trouble like off the field, but
Right.
trouble financially because they don't have the right person advising them. And that's a nature of the business we play in. And it's the nature of that anyone plays in. Look, you could go out there and want to repaint your house right now and hire a bad general contractor or a subcontractor, and they don't finish the job or they don't do it correctly. But you try to do it for cheap. You try to, most people were 10,000. This person was 5. A lot of times in this world, you get what you pay for, and NFL players are not immune to that.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Shamar Stewart. He is in an ongoing dispute with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals are a team that this isn't the first time this has happened with. Carson Palmer came out years ago after playing with them and said that they weren't committed to winning a Super Bowl. And that might come as a surprise because I think as fans, we all think our teams are trying to get to that big dance. From your perspective, is every NFL team trying to win a Super Bowl?
No, no. I think that's clear when you see how some teams do this. You have to also realize it's a business, and a lot of these teams have been around for 100 years, and it's the only asset that family owns. They may have inherited this team or won this team for a few $100s back in 1925. It's not like owning an NFL team, and professional sports in general isn't just a cash cow. If you want to win, you have to reinvest almost all of those dollars back into the franchise if you're trying to grow and expand. The most successful owners make their money outside of sport, that those businesses pay their bills. NFL ownership is definitely an appreciation play. I think the biggest example would be the Los Angeles Lakers. They were bought for whatever the Buss family bought them for, and they just sold for $10 billion. But I saw something, and now everyone out there in the social media world, this could be wrong. I might not have my facts 100% straight. But I think if they invested those same dollars in the S&P 500, it would have returned more value than buying the Lakers would have. So when you look at like investing in sports, there's definitely a vanity play here. These teams have been in families for years, generations, and I don't think they kick off as much cash as people think. Like I don't think people have billions of dollars flowing in every year because of the ownership in the team. So some teams want to squirrel away the dollars they do get, and they don't want to put it all back into salaries. And I think that's where you have to realize there is a business component to this. And I don't blame the owners. I don't blame the players. We're both coming to the table trying to maximize our dollars. My whole goal is how do we get more money into the league at the top of the funnel? Everyone makes more money. And there's always going to be a battle. Players want more, owners want more. It's a business. And that's what I love, that beauty of it. But when you tell me every team's committed to winning, then why doesn't every team spend like the Philadelphia Eagles? Why doesn't every team try to do the voided years, kick the can down the road and run that risk? The Dallas Cowboys spend the least amount of cash, and you would think Jerry Jones would be spending the most. So I think people have a misconception because fandom blinds everyone. And it's something that is part of it. It's the beauty of sport.
Yeah. Well, the part that you mentioned there, if you're trying to make it profitable, and there's obviously a degree of irony to calling any of these people cheap just because of the amount of money that's
we're gonna put quotations around it. Cheap compared to the other billionaire owners that are. When I say billionaire, assets, not liquidity.
Yeah.
We have to make sure like the assets worth a bunch. Some of these teams, the owners aren't walking around with billions of dollars in their pockets either.
So my first question, before I get into my next, is just how many teams are trying to win a Super Bowl year in, year out?
That's a great question. I'd have to go back and look kind of in terms of how these teams are functioning, but I would say most are trying to win, right? They've all been, a lot of these teams have sold and now they're owned by, the Walton family, for example, coming in and buying the Denver Broncos, or Stan Kroenke coming and buying the LA Rams. Like, they're spending the dollars now. And I think I would say that the majority of the league is. There are a few teams that they want to win. I'm not saying they don't want to win, but they're not playing like, let's look at it like it's a game of Monopoly, right? And someone's playing the game of Monopoly as aggressive as possible because they want to do everything they want to do to win. Every time they land on a property, they're buying it and they're just trying to collect more and more rent. Some people are trying to play the strategy a little different. I don't want to spend as much as my money and buy all the real estate. I just want to buy strategic pieces of real estate. And that is a strategy where they don't spend as much, but hoping their return on investment's greater because, when someone lands on Park Place, they know they're getting $400 as opposed to the first one that's $25. And you look at Stan Kroenke, they have different approaches. They're trying to build sports complexes around, entertainment districts around, multifamily real estate around the properties. Not every owner has that capability. So it is a little bit apples to oranges, and everyone looks at them as they're all just these billionaire, not real people. They are trying to figure out ways to run their businesses as efficiently as possible. So I would say there's probably only a few teams that you could point to and say they're not trying to win, but they are trying to win, just not as bad as some of the others.
As a player, do you feel betrayed by that? Or is that more something that's reserved for a Carson Palmer who has enough money, right? I mean, I had an NBA player tell me once, everyone's goal in this league is to make as much money as possible, and that is it. And anyone else who tells you anything is lying. And obviously that's not true because you can look at Brady, who took pay cuts throughout his career to be able to contend. But for most people aren't getting paid what Tom Brady is and all the endorsements.
I'd argue Tom Brady was also getting paid in social equity. So there was like this unforeseen payment Tom Brady was getting to stay in New England. And quarterbacks, put them in their own category. They're unicorns because they're making almost more off the field than they are on the field. And you can go back throughout the course of history and see the quarterbacks, have always had this quarterback club where they don't function like the rest of the NFL players do. And that is something that quarterbacks taking less money to help the team really helps their image. And then their image pays dollars into perpetuity because they're getting the broadcasting deals. It's like this this undiscovered thing that quarterbacks are these great people. If quarterbacks really didn't want to take as much, take zero. You're making more off the field than you are. Like, I don't buy into this scenario. These quarterbacks are these altruistic people building for the good of the team. Like when Jalen Hurts signed his contract and says, just make sure all my other teammates get paid. That is horseshit. We're all in this for the dollars. We're all in this for the social equity. Yes, quarterbacks can do little things. They're still making the most of any player on the team. They really care and they really wanted to win. Take $10 million a year then and put everything back into the team and show me you care. We're all doing this for the business of getting money. We trade our body, our health for money. That's what the NFL is. every player should go into it with that philosophy. Yes, you're going to love the guys you're with. Yes, you're going to love the team. But that is a trade every player is making. And that's why guys retire young. They're tired of trading their health for money.
I totally agree with you in that it's ridiculous to say that, oh, poor Tommy's only making 20.5 million, back when that was what was real money. But it is fair to note that he wasn't a top 5, cap hit anytime that they won the Super Bowl. Like, that was a big part of why they were able to sustain their success. Now, he had, like you mentioned, the social equity, and his wife at the time was making a lot of money. So Tom was taken care of. There's no doubt about
Tom's,
that.
I think he's got like some involvement with Fanatics now. He's got his own trading card deal. He had TB12 that he's able to roll out. So if he's not winning Super Bowls, he doesn't get to build those businesses. So I think Tom Brady is the GOAT for a reason on and off the field, because he realized, hey, if I also take a little bit less, if I'm taking not the max cap hit versus other quarterbacks, I get to build these other business verticals. So he's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. He gets that payment in other verticals that probably pay him more overall to the Tom Brady enterprise than anyone else. And that's how you have to look at it. Like, I never go in and thank the quarterback for taking a team friendly deal. It really doesn't occur, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting way to think about it. I think you're spot on that it's an opportunity cost thing. And you wonder about a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who was always after that top dollar deal, had the talent of Brady, but couldn't get over the hump, maybe because the team was constricted all those years. I want to ask you a little bit.
How did New England and Kraft present that to Tom as a young player? Like, hey, you winning, like, don't get me wrong, Tom Brady still is, he realized this early on. And maybe to that point, I don't know Aaron's like history of contracts as well to say he didn't, but maybe Green Bay wasn't negotiating the same way. And Green Bay is not the same market as New England. And, Aaron wasn't in the same, like, I remember going to Green Bay and just thinking like, wow, they still have a blockbuster here. And it was like 2017. Like, those don't even exist anymore. So I don't think Aaron had the same opportunities that an Eli Manning or a Tom Brady would have in a bigger market.
Yeah, it's interesting perspective. Everything is bottom line, to our point. So I want to ask you, when a team, like you said, isn't trying to win the Super Bowl, they still want to win, they still want to be respectable, but like the Cincinnati Bengals were clowned on for years for not having the indoor practice facility. I want to know, how does a team cut corners? Is it more on the side of, I have to think that it's not through contract spending, because there's that 90% minimum threshold, right? Like, teams have to spend 90% of what the cap is allowed. It's not like you can just cut like crazy. It's probably more on the everything else, what shows up in the NFLPA report card, the facilities, the travel, all of that. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, it's quality of life for fans and players, right? There's some people that build their stadium a certain way, that have certain activations on game day for their fans, that go above and beyond to do events like that, and how they are involved in the community, and then how they treat their players, right? There's a reason the report cards have come out. And again, it goes back to this. If you're paying your quarterback $40-50 million a year, do you need to have the nicest weight room? Do you need to invest those dollars there or to the quarterback? And this is what I tell colleges all the time. You don't have to have the nicest weight room anymore, because if you're paying your quarterback $1 million, $2 million, $4 million, like the kid requested at Tennessee, the facilities don't matter as much, because again, you're giving me the money now as opposed to improving the weight room. So I get why some of these NFL franchises they didn't make the investment. It goes back to, not every owner makes income the same way. They're not all just making their money through football. Other owners could spend way more money, probably operate at a net loss to build new facilities, to improve the stadium or locker rooms or fields, where other owners can't do that because they literally don't have as much money as the Walmart family, for example, or insert Josh Harris and the Commanders. It's just a different model of, there's levels to ownership too. That I should say that there's levels to quarterbacks making more money, and not every owner is the same. The Bengals, the Brown family, they weren't running oil conglomerates, and they don't have this massive, probably now have an investment portfolio, but they built their wealth off the Bengals. And it's not like Cincinnati is New York City. I don't think Cincinnati Bengals are valued the same way the New York Giants are. So when the Giants sell 10% of their franchise, they're going to get $1 billion or 750 million. The Bengals probably get valued at, I don't know, what's the Bengals value franchise? 7 billion, 8 billion. So it just trickles down on like where they are geographically as well.
Yeah, and it should be noted too that as much of a bottom line as it is, there's not that direct correlation between, the NFLPA report cards, right, and the players' perception of their facilities and success. I mean, you look at the Dolphins are routinely at the top, right? Second. And what are they? They're labeled as soft. The Chiefs ranked 29th, Chargers 30th. Like, these are playoff teams, perennially competing teams that sometimes, it bucks what you would expect. And so explain to me, like, how much stock do you put in those report cards? And, it's not a predictor of success necessarily, but is it something that matters?
It's something that definitely matters. Look at the Minnesota Vikings. They're perennially actually number one, I think. And then they also mix taking care of their players by having good football people making decisions. The Chiefs are not taking care of their players, but they have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Veach, their general manager. They've overcome not running, I shouldn't say not running a successful franchise because they are hugely successful, but they found a key to success. We're investing more in these three people, and we hit home runs on all three of these folks. Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, the list goes on and on. They draft really well, but that goes back to Brett Veach. Where the Dolphins and Stephen Ross is probably one of the best owners and how he takes care of his franchise. But Stephen Ross is really good at real estate. I'm sure he'll probably admit this. They've made some errors within the football operations side. I mean, look at some of the coaching hires and GM hires. It's hard to get the football operations side right. So I still think Dolphins are above whoever they're equal to in terms of, say they're a B in football operations. I'd rather play for the Dolphins than the B equivalent with worse facilities, right? So that's kind of how I look at them. You can't put the Chiefs and the Dolphins in the same category because the Chiefs have one of the best GMs, the best head coach in football, and the best player potentially of all time. It's hard to compare, again, them to an organization. Like, maybe I would look at the Ravens, right? The Ravens are also another really well-run franchise and say, if you had your others, which one would you rather play for? Guys might choose the Ravens because they treat you better, and you still have a legit chance to win with Lamar, DeCosta, and Harbaugh as you do with the Chiefs. Those are probably the more comps you would want to make. And even still, I think Patrick Mahomes trumps all. People are going to play with Patrick, and the ownership gets to reap the benefits of that.
That makes a lot of sense. Where do you come down on the Shamar Stewart situation?
I'd hold out if I was him. I held out to get default language taken out of my contract, and I got insurance and did OTAs when I had this disability insurance to practice. But if I'm Shamar, I'm not giving up my guarantees. What was he, 16th overall?
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
he was, like he deserves a 100% guaranteed contract. He deserves whatever they're trying to take out. I'm not going to tell you I'm the most well versed on it, but clearly they're trying to make a precedent with him, and he has to draw a line in the sand. Like, I guess these teams are going to try to go back. Again, I'm not mad at the teams. Shamar Stewart has to do his thing too. Like, teams, it's a chess match, one after the other.
Yep.
Shamar's got to hold strong. The issue becomes the teams can hold out longer than the players can. It's come back to every CBA we've looked at throughout the years. You have 32 people that can align very easily, and then you have 3,000 players. Now the union's gotten stronger and stronger. I think we're at a point now where the union's almost as strong as they've ever been. They are as strong as they've ever been. And it's up to Shamar and the union to support him to make sure that he can go get that contract. Because if not, he does, every person that comes after sets the standard for the next guy. And that's where you're going to point to the Pablo Torre. Like, they wish Russell Wilson got a fully guaranteed contract because if he doesn't, the next guy doesn't, then the next guy under him doesn't. And that's the domino effect of why players have to stay strong. But it's an issue because we can only earn our money over a finite period of time. So I get why players will cave in certain situations because they're like, hey, why do I have to be the example? But if you go back to 1993, we didn't even have free agency, and someone had to stand up and fight for that. And now Shamar is standing up and fighting for these guarantees. So it's always the battle. It's the business. It's why I love I love both sides. You have to put yourself, if I was an owner of a team, how would I act? If I was Shamar Stewart, how would I respond? And if you can take yourself out of like your shoes and into someone else's, you can see why this game is amazing because it makes so much money, and we have to fight over every little crumb because that's what human beings do.
As much as it is league wide and it's just intrinsic to the relationship that everyone wants to maximize their profit, the Bengals are repeat offenders here. You look at Palmer, you look at Stewart, you look at Hendrickson right now, who's done nothing but give them 16 sacks a year. From a player's perspective, are the Bengals considered cheap?
Yeah, we're gonna put quotes around cheap, right? They're cheap comparatively. Like if you gave me the choice of like, do I play for the Bengals or the New York Giants? I'm gonna play for the New York Giants. I think if you would go like if I could have my son get drafted to a franchise, there's certain franchises I'd want him to go to before I'd want him to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's for sure. I think having an opportunity to play in the NFL is a very unique opportunity. I also wouldn't want my son to miss a year of playing if his money wasn't fully guaranteed. So yes, I think cheap. We can put the quotes around them and say that they're cheap. Um, I just, again, I would never want to see a player not get that life-changing dollar. And that's where it's tough for me because you look at certain situations and in a vacuum, I would tell Shamar Stewart, hold strong, do it for the players. And then you look like, hey, I'm trying to, do this for my family. And it's like, how can you tell someone not to change their family's life forever? And it's so hard.
Yeah. And I know you got to get out of here in 2 minutes, so I'll run through this real quick. But there are stories of like guys not being allowed to take Gatorade home. Have you ever seen the nightmare story? Cheap, but maybe just cheap. No air quotes.
I've heard teams that will lock up breakfast until like 9 o'clock hits, and you can't get breakfast until 9 o'clock hits, and that's when the cafeteria opens. And I've seen the opposite. I know a player, I won't name names. I was in New York that he was like waiting for the coach's dinner, and he would take home dinner for his whole family from like the coach's dinner at night, stock up Gatorade. So players take advantage of it too. There's a two sides to all of this. Um, and that's the beauty of it. But yeah, I've 100% heard horror stories of players not being able to get certain things, not being able to get certain treatment, not being able to get certain, amenities. And I've also heard of players taking advantage of some amenities as well.
Yeah. It's funny because, people bring up how, structurally it is this socialist institution. And yet it is still dictated at the end of the day by this bottom line, number one principle of economics that everyone is just trying to maximize their profit. Well, I know that you got to get out of here. I am so appreciative of your insight. Everyone check Justin out across platforms. I'll let you plug yourself, but I've loved what you're putting out.
Yeah, I started in the business of football, right? It's obviously you can tell I'm passionate about it. Like I love the back and forth between the two. But I've started to get more into the content space. I do a Thursday series where I travel to every Thursday night football game. We're going to do it again this year, Thursday Football Club. Just follow all my socials. I'll point you in the right direction. Justin Pugh 67 on Instagram, Justin Pugh on Twitter. I'm always putting out things and trying to provoke some ideas and thought and discussion around topics in the NFL and the dollars behind it. It's something that makes this game go. It changed my life. I wouldn't be here without the game. So I love to hear how other players are attacking and maximizing. So follow me there, and I really appreciate it, Peter. This was a great conversation.
All right. Thank you so much.